Hello, everyone. Welcome to Drawing Expressions, live streaming here on YouTube. I'm Parz. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for making the next hour-ish part of your creative journey. So it was a little bit weird, just sort of as we were starting up. When I was doing my tech check, the one thing that I didn't make sure of was to make sure that my music was going on that opening screen. So it was a little bit weird, a little bit quiet. I turned on the speaker to the computer. I don't know if anything came through. You get to listen to the little upbeat next week. I guess it's just not going to happen today. Okay. It's been a week. Not gonna lie, it's been a week. So we had a lot of flooding here and a little bit of just, stuff going on. So, things, life. But I'm here and we're going to do some writing, and I hope you will join me. Now, today is going to be a little bit of a different experience because what I'm going to be talking about, I don't really have an exercise for. I'm going to invite you to join me, but I don't actually have something that we're all going to work together. Bear with me. It'll all be explained when we get there. So, things to know. And the one thing that I always like to bring out, always like to point out, it's the guidelines rule. The guidelines rule is all we operate in is guidelines. We don't operate in rules. Rules break. They fall on the floor. They smash. You have to clean them up. Ugh. Guidelines bend. I like guidelines a whole lot better. So anything that I say here today, any day, take it as a suggestion, take it as a guideline. You don't have to listen to it. I don't have to be right. Just, yeah, whatever. Yeah, so that is that. Things to know. Okay, the class structure. Now, I did say that things are going to be just a little bit different today. The heart of what I want to talk about is editing. And so this came about from the week's experience, actually a couple of weeks worth of experience, and I'm going to talk about that more fully. And then in the pantser section, we're going to talk about after you've written, then what? And that is partly from a conversation that I had in Free Expressions, which brings us to Free Expressions. So come on out, hang out with us. Eastern time in North America, it's Friday night. In Pacific time, it's late Friday afternoon. Australia time, it's, I guess, late morning on, today, Sunday. Actually, no, it's not Sunday, Saturday, because it's yesterday. All right. So anyways, yeah, Free Expressions. Come on out. It's a grand old time to have an art date with yourself and do some stuff. Okay. With all of that said and done, let us move on to a little bit of breathing and stretching and getting our mind set and focused on writing today, because the day's cares, the week's cares, they can take a break. We're going to take some time to ourselves. So I square breathe. If you've been here before, you know what that means, but I'm always going to bring it up and explain it, because just in case you haven't been here, it's inhale for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5, hold for 5. And I just pick 5 because just why not? Okay, so I'm going to invite you to join me. So breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathing in. And stretch. And exhale. Do a little neck stretchy. There we go. So I don't know about you, but just that little bit of movement gets the body ready, gets the mind going. We can start to talk about writing. So let's talk about writing, and let's talk about editing, and talk about where this whole idea for doing this week's topic came from. So first I drink some coffee. Okay. So as people know who have been here, I have been working now to do Moss Piglet submissions. Now, Moss Piglet is a magazine. It's published out of Wisconsin. You can find them at crazines.com. They are not sponsored, by the way. I talk about them a lot because they're awesome, not because they're sponsored. So Crazines, or excuse me, Moss Piglet is this magazine, and started doing submissions for it. So the Moby Dick issue, the October issue, I think it is, has come hot off the presses. It will be available. If it's not available now, it will be very soon. And this next issue, the November issue, is patterns. The prompt is patterns. So I started writing. I had a poem that was in the can already, and I'm happy with it, so I'm going to submit that. And I read already the narrative nonfiction that I wrote, also on the topic of patterns. So if you want to check that out, I think that's 2 lives ago. Maybe it's last live. I don't remember. It's been a week. I did start a poem, and just out of the blue, and it kind of just sort of came to me, and observed, and I scribed, and I kind of got things written down, and it has become a real editing tutorial for myself about all the various odd ways that you can look at a piece. And so I want to share what that experience has been like, because I don't really find people talk about editing all that much. I mean, they want to talk about setting scenes and writing novels and blah, 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 blah. I think this is a very interesting part of the writing process. It is an old adage that says that good writing comes from good editing, and great writing comes from great editing. And I cannot dispute that. So, all of that said, let me start to get things shared. So I'm going to bring up the Let's Begin screen. Just giving me a second here to get... There we go. Okay. So here we go. So the prompt is going to be doing an observation and then having a scribing come from that, right? So you're going to take some sort of notion, some sort of idea, observe it, take as long as you want. Now, here on the live, you've only got a minute or two. But I find that if you observe, really, really pay attention, really observe, and play with the idea and tease out the things that are going to, that are really going to come forth, and then it feels right. I mean, I really can't put it into any better terms. It feels right. Start to get it scribed, and then work through the editing process, where you're actually molding it into a form that you are going to be happy with. Okay, so the exercise, if you would like to do an exercise, and this is going to be the exercise I work here, do an observation and describing. I have done one already. Think of if you wanted to work an observation and a scribe, think of something, anything, a memory, maybe a little bit of a story idea, something you find funny, doesn't really matter. And then allow the scribing process to happen. I think mine is, I'm going to scroll. I think mine is, where did it go? I think I'm going to have to find it. I wrote it down somewhere. Like I said, it's been a week. I might have to take a second to find it, but it is written down. And I will work through the editing process. And so that's going to be basically the first part of the class, is watching me edit and then talk through the editing process and all the different steps that I have been led through on the piece, that the big piece I've been working on. That will not be presented today. So, one second. Okay. I'm going to move us into just my face, and I'm going to try and find my scribing. Let's see now here. Below that. What did I do with the silly thing? Oh, I bet I know what I did with it. I bet that my computer did not talk to my iPad. And so it didn't come over. So I'm going to, there we go. I am going to, let's see, copy that. And then I'm going to, let's see now here. Maybe if I save this, although it should just kind of come up. Okay, there we go. If I bring it here, okay, good. Now it is working. Let's get all this minimized. All right, let's come over to the screen share. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. It's been a week. Hit the edit. Okay. And I get myself a little bit tipped. Okay. So what I did is I took a minute to think about what does patterns mean aside from the ways that I have approached it already. So I had approached it in, let's see now here. One was sort of patterns, time over, like relating patterns of life and nature and time and having those interact. I approached it from the point of view of a random pattern, so that there is these things called Einstein tiles. And what that does is you can take a single shape and like you can tile your bathroom wall and the pattern of it will never, ever repeat, like ever. And so I wrote a narrative nonfiction about the story behind how it was discovered and sort of the cool things about it. And then lastly, I wrote a poem, which is this big work that I'm talking about, which has kind of held on to me and continues to hold on, about patterns of behavior and how they happen night after night. It turned into like a, I don't know, like a Day of the Dead kind of a thing, or a Groundhog Day type of thing. This one, I'm finally now to this one. Should have not shared just yet, but here we go. This one is all just about the pattern of what happens when you commute. You're going home from the commute. And I have commuted in the past, and sort of remembering some of the things about my commutes, remembering things about hearing other people's experiences during a commute. So I thought, why not? I'll just scribe some stuff down. Okay, and so this is what we're seeing. I'm just going to read it. So I tell myself to breathe as I sit in the car. Its job right now, the car's job, is to idle and move inches at a time. I hate this commute traffic right now. I think its presence is a crime. So you can see I've tried to throw in a little bit of a rhyming scheme, time and crime. So I've got my bumper tucked up to the car in front, and I'm feeling the breath of the guy behind. Someone's feebly trying to nose themselves in. Not happening today. Okay. Traffic radio says it's the usual parking lot, moved an inch a minute ago, foot poised to hit the gas, but firmly pressed on the brake. If I had a flying car, I could soar over this mess, but probably everyone else would try too, and I'd have to learn pilot jargon and how to fly. I guess it'll just be the rich guys in the sky, as if they'd ever be in this mess in the first place. Okay, so a few ideas that are in here. Let's just start to, this is the observation and the scribing, so let's just start to massage it and turn it into something that's a little bit more lyrical, more poetic. So there's 4 basic ideas that we've put into this. So first off, we're gonna have our setup where we set ourselves in the car. It's a traffic jam, going home after work, and we don't like it. I've never really met anyone who did like sitting in the car, but whatever. Okay, so then the second one deals with my positioning in this parking lot and how I want to always feel like I'm moving forward and to have someone nose in, just whatever reason, despite whatever's going on. Yeah, I'm not going to let those guys in. Then the third one is just, listening to traffic radio and describing how it's just same old, same old. And then lastly, it's sort of like a dream sequence of what could happen if I could magically get myself out of this, maybe with a flying car, because I'm not going to be the only one. Okay, so let's work with that. And the way I'm going to do it first off is I am going to work one idea at a time. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of space. And here we go. So I tell myself to breathe as I sit in the car. I actually like that first line, because I'm trying to calm myself. It tells myself I'm trying to calm myself down. So I'm just going to grab that, and we're going to copy it. We're going to copy. I just like to have all of this together since we're working the entire stanza. My car's job right now is to idle and move inches at a time. So that's kind of a long line. As I sit in the car, let's see now here. Let's maybe try and collapse that down a little bit. Sit in the car. All it's doing is idling. Here we go, idling and inching. Is inching a word? Spell check says it's fine, but and I like it because it's like inch, inch, inch. So okay, I like that. I hate this commute traffic right now. Okay, so let's have something in here, and it's hate is kind of a weak word, right? So we've talked about picking out stronger words to express what it is that we want to feel. Hate is really pretty a general word. So how about we start with, instead of I hate, it's going to be like the commute traffic. I'm going to go with something like this. Really cheeses me off. Now, I'm violating a writer's rule that says use concrete language, use language that everyone understands. But I think cheeses me off is pretty self-explanatory just from its usage here. It certainly does not mean I'm happy. Okay, and I think its presence is a crime. Okay, so I'm not going to try and rhyme to inching just yet. We'll maybe play with that in a little bit. I think its presence is a crime. If it's a crime, someone should do something about it. Okay? Someone should do something about it. And it sounds really powerless too. Someone should do something about it, but I certainly can't. Okay, so I tell myself to breathe as I sit in the car. All it's doing is idling and inching. I think all it's doing, we can work with that a little bit too, and because it's an ing and ing and an ing. So maybe we can find a way to make that work better. The commute traffic really cheeses me off. Someone should do something about it. So I'm going to get rid of the older version because I'm not willing to. I think this is a better version of what I had, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Okay. All right, so that's sort of a first pass on that first line. And now we would do the same type of first pass on the rest of them. Squeeze them down a little bit, work with them a little bit. Let's see, how are we doing for time? I'm going to do, I think, one more, because this is not happening today. It's sort of sitting out there. I think it needs to be looked at a little bit. Okay, so I've got my bumper tucked up to the car in front. So let's have that be something a little bit more snarky, maybe, or descriptive. Let's, my car is, now my car. Let's describe the car just a little bit. So my Toyota is sniffing a Ford tailpipe. While the Chevy behind me is sniffing mine. Now with all of that, someone's feebly trying to nose themselves in. So why not have it be another car? So while the white Prius tries to sneak in a sniff, because now we got the whole sniffing thing going, almost like dogs in a way, right? And I'm going to make a note of that, like dogs. So we can actually maybe talk about cars, not as cars, but maybe more like dogs, like little, things that we have going on, or just an idea. The white Prius tries to sneak in a sniff. Not happening today. But my bulldog. Let's see here. My bulldog of a car won't allow it. Okay, so we're working with that, starting to come up with the notion of like dogs. And if we do adopt the idea that cars are like dogs, and there may be like, a little bit of biting and being in line and not being in line and how is all that going to work, we can actually bring that all the way through and have little references to, you know, my line of dogs versus another line of dogs. Again, just an idea. Like the striped lines could be like almost like, you know, linear kennels, and you're forced to go through just that way. Playing with ideas. Anyways, I think I'm happier with the bottom than the top, so I'm going to get rid of the top. I have expressed the top, but in a more descriptive way. Do you see how we're making those changes? Yeah, so, and we're still doing well on time, so I'm just going to keep, okay. I'm going to actually sort of stop at this point. So this is the first pass on those first two stanzas. I think they're called stanzas. So let's kind of start to go into what would line work do. So as a note, so this was sort of the first pass that I did on my big patterns column. It's called a building of sorts. So when I refer to building of sorts, that's what we're talking about. So in a building of sorts, I was arranging paragraphs to make sure that the story made more sense, making sure that each stanza talked about a specific thing, and made sure that they were all consistent, right? So in this one, this patterns, if I start talking about dogs, I want to have mentions of dogs all the way through, right? I'm going to bring it back to that. In a building of sorts, it's a little bit creepy type of thing going on, so I wanted to have that show up all the way through. Okay, so now that we've sort of done a quick first pass on this, let's just start to look at what a line-by-line look would look like. Now, I tell myself I'm going to do the first line, the first paragraph. I tell myself to breathe as I sit in the car. All it's doing is idling and inching. The commute traffic really cheeses me off. Someone should do something about it. Okay. So it'd be nice to get a little bit of rhyme going. I like having rhymes in my poems. It helps things to kind of flow off the tongue. Also having a nice beat to it. So I tell myself to breathe as I sit in the car. Feel that rhythm? I tell myself to breathe as I sit in the car. All it's doing is idling and inching. Okay, so that kind of gets broken up. So let's see if we can maybe find a way to either have that work, you know, the same type of rhythm as the first line, or if we can come up with an alternate rhythm on the second so it feels more natural. I tell myself to breathe as I sit in the car. Still like that. All it's doing is idling and inching. What do I want to do with that? Yeah, because I tell myself, let's put in the reason why I'm having to breathe. Because all it's doing is idling and inching. Because all it's doing. How do we work with that? Because it's okay. It's doing. I think that's the part that's kind of messing with me here a little bit. Because it's idling. Because it's only. Did I get that? Okay. Because it's only idling and inching. I tell myself to breathe as I sit in the car. Because it's only idling and inching. Now this sort of sets us up on the fourth line to maybe have some ings words. I think they're present participles, words that end in ing. Okay, this commute traffic, so not the, you want to make it a little more direct. It's not just the commute traffic in general, it's this commute traffic. This commute traffic really cheeses me off. Do we want to have the last word in this line rhyme to car? Do we want it to rhyme to inching and then maybe have the last line rhyme to car? Because that could be kind of a fun little thing. And it's a novel way to rhyme it. So let's see if we can manage that one. Let's do like an A-B-B-A type of situation with our rhyming scheme. So this commute traffic really cheeses me off. Okay, so let's find an ing, a present participle, a verb that is going to be our final word for this line. Because it's only idling and inching. This really hating, and we got rid of hate. Hating is really cheesing me off. It's really can we? I don't know that we can easily find a an ing, a present participle that is going to work the way I want it to. And in fact, that may be a difficulty as we go down to the bottom line. So I'm thinking it's only idling. So I'm going to change, I'm going to get rid of that, that second so that it becomes not so much of a problem. If we wanted to go back when we've got a lot of time and we can think about things, we can maybe work it out and have our present participles rhyme that way. But for right now, let's make it a little bit easier on ourselves because it's only idling and moving inches. This commute traffic really inches. Maybe we can find a word that rhymes with inches. Inches, there's pinches, skinches. Let's see now here. Lynches. Having a hard time. One of the things that I can do with finding a word that might rhyme to inches is reach for a rhyming dictionary. Now, what I started to do actually was to type into my browser rhymes with inches. And there's actually multiple websites that will pop up with rhyming suggestions. They're not always all that great. You know, some of the suggestions, you know, it's like, how does this possibly rhyme? I don't quite see the connection. But other ones, it gives you some ideas. And in my working with a building of sorts, it was very invaluable. It helped me remember that I had words at my disposal that would do what I wanted them to do, work in the way that I wanted them to work, but they were not readily available in my brain box. So don't be afraid to reach for something like that. You know, you don't have to work this stuff out all on the power of your own noggin. You can reach for help, browsers and whatnot. So anyways, I'm going to leave it as given that I'm going to find a rhyme for inches. This commute traffic really cheeses me off. I love that line, so I don't really want to change that. Someone should do something about it. And this feels very powerful as well, very powerful in that this person feels powerless. They're just sort of stuck. This is my lot in life for the next 2 hours after work every day. Let's see now here. Someone should do something about it. What would we do? Actually, I'm going to leave it for right now. I'm coming up with a blank, and you know, maybe I'm just it's just not coming, so that's okay. So one thing I'm going to kind of bring up here, I am going to just bring it up. When you find that things are not working as smoothly as you would like, it's okay to walk away. And that's part of what I'm doing right now, is I'm going to walk away from that piece. But you can see sort of like where we're going. So here, what I want to do now is to come to, when I was prepping for actually the prior live stream, and I forgot to use it, so here we are in this one, I just Googled how to edit your writing, and these suggestions popped up. And it's kind of funny that there's repeats of the suggestions, and the first, or one of the things it says is avoid repetitive phrases. But anyways, this list contains some of the things that I was talking about. You could hear me reading aloud. This is a great way of knowing your rhythm instead of just having it internally in your head and saying like, oh, this works or this doesn't. Read it aloud. Take breaks. That's all okay. Check your punctuation. So poems tend to have less punctuation, but if you're writing prose, make sure that your commas, you've got the commas that you need, not more than you need, because that's oftentimes what happens is people will over comma, but also not less, because you can inadvertently say something that you didn't really mean to. Let's see now here. Avoid cliches. Now this is something that it's more of like the concrete writing mentionings that I was talking about. You don't want to put things in that either open to interpretation or regional or whatever, unless you want to. I would. This is one of those things where, you know, if you want to insert yourself more and you've got this cliche that you want to throw in there, or whatever, put it in. One of the things that it's related to this is I like to insert myself into the stories, and I like to put in things like the jokes or little things that I know. So at the free expressions yesterday, the prompt was, the word prompt was blue. So we have a little bit of a funny thing here. This actually comes from Alicia, and she has her standard answers. One of them is blue, another one is 17. So in my haiku work, because I had blue, I wrote, there are 17 things that want to come to mind. The first one is. And so I was making a private joke of the matter, that here we are. This is it. Now, I mean, no one listening to it except she and I would know what it is I'm talking about, but that's okay, because I like to have it in there. Okay, back to this. Edit long sentences, edit line by line. So we were doing that. Eliminate redundancies. Keep your voice active. That's one of the ones that's in here. So it does. You don't want to have passive voice too much, because passive voice can be a bit weak, but it also has its uses. And so make sure that you are using it judiciously. Use it with intent. Let's see now here. And read for structure. I mean, that's another idea of making sure your ideas are flowing. Yeah, so that is sort of what's here on this list. So let me come back to talking in the room. So wrapping up that first idea of doing the how to edit your work, things to look for. Oh, I think I missed one. Consider your audience. So, and this is actually going to work out really well, because we're going to talk about that in the next section. So actually, that one I think is going to be good. So consider your audience. It relates very directly to what happens next. But before we get there, I am going to do a little bit of breathing and stretching. So I'm going to invite you to all take a deep breath in with me, and then stretch as we are inhaling and inhaled. Here we go. Breathing in. Oh, oh, that feels good. And let's come across. And let's come across. Okay. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. All righty. Okay, so let me come back here and start to get my screen set up as we move on to, excuse me, the Panzer part of our live stream. After editing, what's next? So this comes from a couple of different prompts. One was a discussion in Free Expressions. It was the sharing of work, and do I share? Why do I share? Where do I share? How do I share? And so that was one piece. And then another piece is I found on the internet something that really didn't think existed anymore. So Alicia used to have a spiritual magazine, Timeless Spirit, and the final issue still exists online, and I'm not quite sure how, but it does. So, you know, some memory of some computer somewhere, it's still out there. And one of the bits, one of the pieces that is on that final page is a poem that I wrote, really personal, talking about how my personal journey through life was, you know, looking for someone, and I found her, and Alicia. So yeah, so I read it at my wedding. So it is quite a quite a personal piece, and talks about the frustrations of trying to find your soulmate and blah 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 blah. And so I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's there, and of course, it's on my computer still, except it's not. So I took a screenshot, and now I've got that saved away. And it got me thinking about all of the work that I have done over time, some of which I do have on my machine, and some of which I don't. And so we get into what's next. What do you do with your work? A visual artist oftentimes is working in a sketchbook or on a canvas or something that's hard, right? I mean, you don't often work on a piece that you are thinking about holding on to, and it's just on the back of an envelope, or you know, something like that, or like a scrap of paper. It could be, but oftentimes it's in a form that you need to physically do something with. Less often, it's like a digital type of file, but it can be. But what do you do with that, right? So you have sort of your considerations there. In writing, at least the modern day writing, where you know paper really isn't a thing anymore, you can do it. You can be, you know, pen to paper, and you have more interaction with your writing in that way in some regards. But I'm all digital, and I have been for a very long time. So what do you do with your digital files? How do you make sure that you hold on to the things that you want to hold on to? How do you make sure that you still have them, and you know, they don't just simply become forgotten? And I'm really bad at this. I'm actually starting to get better at holding on to my work. And this is part of the reason why I'm talking about it, is because I find that when I talk about things in lives, I get ideas on how to make my process better. Okay, so let me just come over here to sharing the screen. So, as I said, after editing, what's next? So, part of what we're talking about here is, why are we writing? The answer is, like, why are we writing? What are we looking to do with our writing. I would say the first thing is have a file that's specifically named for the piece that you have written, and put it in a folder on your computer that is specifically for your writing, and have a special drive or a special file as a backup drive so that you don't lose it. One of the things that I was doing when I was doing my microfiction, my daily microfictions, is actually I would take what I had written for the day and actually paste it into a document specifically that was holding all of them. So like it's how many ever odd pages, I don't know. But it's a lot of pages, but it held everything. So even if I was careless and didn't hold on to that particular file, I overwrote it or whatever, wasn't paying attention, it was okay. I actually had a copy. So that's one thing. And so you can hold on to it for yourself. Okay, so we can post onto a blogging platform such as Blogger. And remember that you don't need to publish the posts that you put into Blogger. It can just sort of act independently. So I'm going to screen share real quick. Actually, am I? I'm going to bring this up, and I have set it up in such a way that I have sound on it today, which is a good thing. There we go. So I'm going to screen share and come over. There we go, and it's not going to endlessly repeat. Okay, so this is the front page of the newest of the pages. I haven't posted up the free expressions from yesterday. So the haikus of the future is the first post, and it's from last week. And I can display my work to the world, anyone who wants to come see it. I am just going to scroll just a little bit. So the nice thing here is I've got the photo that inspired the work, and then below that I have the work itself. And as I talked about last live stream, I can have some editing choices on what I do. So I have center justified, I have italicized, I have eliminated a lot of the capitalization, and I find that my haikus present better in this way. Now, if I didn't want to publish this post, or if I wanted to only publish some of my haikus, I could actually have a separate post, and it would only hold the ones that I wanted to. Maybe I can have like a public post and then like a private post. So I'm just going to bring over here real quick. Here we go. So this is just the list of, this is your sort of your back end of Blogger, if you've never seen this before. And all these posts, these are all published. But I could have unpublished posts in here as well, so that they are there for myself, but not necessarily for anyone else's use. They can just be there for mine, and it can sort of act as its own backup drive. And the great thing is that it's Blogger, and Blogger's been around forever and a day. And so we know that it's going to be safe or safer than perhaps like even your computer, for instance, where like the hard drive can die. Okay, so I'm going to bring us back to sharing the ideas. Sharing on social media. Now, if you want to share on social media, you've made something and you want people to look at it. First off, consider, why is it that you're doing this? Are you looking for the likes, or are you doing it to share what it is that you've done as like inspiration for somebody else? Or where is that motivation coming from? If you're looking for likes, be prepared to be disappointed, because it's hard to get likes. But if you're doing it just because you can share and you can just throw it out there, and you can maybe make one person's day just a little bit better, that's a fantastic reason to post. I have been posting up reels in Instagram. So I go through and I read through some of my haikus or my my microfictions, post them on Instagram as a reel, and I just hope that somebody gets to watch it and they go, you know, it brings a smile to their face, because most often my microfictions are funny, or at least intended to be. Okay, so the last thing here is submit for publishing. So, you know, you're working on your piece. So like my working on a building of sorts, very specifically targeted for publishing. So I'm spending a lot more time on it, working through like every single word multiple times. And this has been the case now for at least the past week. Every time I walk past my computer, no matter where it is, no matter where the computer is, I'll just like, I have to just like stop and sit down and look at the computer and just read through it again and like, ooh, that word, do I want yet, or do I want but, or do I want and, or do I, and agonizing over these tiny little details, to the point where, like, you know, at night I'm waking up, or yeah, I'm like waking up in the middle of the night going like, should that word be, should it be this or that? And so, you know, working through it that way. And so, yeah, so you really, when you're working a piece like that, my suggestion is you don't want to blanket the world with your work. Find places that you want to be. Find places where you're appreciated, which brings me back to Moss Piglet. I haven't had many conversations with the publisher, John Bloner Jr., but he is a tremendously nice guy, and the publication is wonderful. I feel blessed to have that pointed out to me. So thank you, Alicia, for finding that post and putting me onto them. And that's going to be sort of what I'm going to be working each month. At least, you know, one work that's getting submitted into Moss Piglet. So it's going to be specific for publication, and so it's going to be treated much more rigorously than maybe just the haiku creativity splash, where these are going up onto the blogger, where it's just, I just want to put out ideas. I just want to be creative. I really don't want to edit myself. Yeah, I will edit to the point of having it encapsulated within at most 17 syllables on 3 lines. But beyond that, I don't really want to futz with it. I just want to allow my creativity to flow and blossom and have fun. Stuff that's getting published, creativity absolutely has its place, but then the editing also has to come in, and it has to all make sense and jive, because a publisher is going to look at your work and say, I'm going to allow it in, or I'm not. So you've got to sort of have it formatted to that particular gatekeeper. Okay, let me see if I had anything else there. I don't. So, I guess one last thing that I want to bring up before I close is, when do you know that you're done? And that is an interesting question, because I have thought numerous times over this past week and a half that I was done. And then I'd still find myself going to the computer and just looking at that one line or that one word. And there have been bigger changes, even during this process of, oh, I'm done. And I think, I don't know that I know the answer, but I feel like that that particular piece, it is now not really nagging at me on a minute-by-minute basis. There is a new idea that's coming, and the old one I'm able to sort of start to let go of. And so that tells me it's approaching the end of its holding on to me, and then I'm ready to send it in and submit it and have it be looked at by the publisher. And so, you know, some things may never be done. like the little creative ideas. I do them, they're out there, and then I just sort of forget about them, and I move on to something else. Other things, they just kind of continually get worked. I think of Douglas Adams and his story, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and there must be a dozen versions that are out there, because it was never done for him. He had the radio script, and he had the book, and he had the TV series, and he had the movies, and it would change each time. And that was part of what made it fun and interesting and new for him, because it was just never done. It was just new and different. So with that said, let me wrap up. So here we go. First off with our drawing expressions haiku, a creative space, holistically supportive. Please like, share, subscribe. Please do. If you do choose to share on social media, here is the hashtag. If you want to get a hold of myself, that's the email that's right there. And otherwise, I know Linktree has been put up into the chat. So that's all of our platforms, current times, and all that kind of good stuff. All the different ways you can interact with us. Anyways, with all of that, thank you so much for being here and listening to me yammer. I hope to see you next week. I'm not even sure what I'm going to talk about next week, but you'll find out then. Anyways, until then, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.